everybody, and welcome to the first edition of Everybody Wants England. This is going to be a Robert Englund film retrospective. So, I'm pretty much going to cover all the movies, not all the television shows that he was in, but all of the movies that he was in. And we're going to break them down in groups of three. And we're going to start at the very beginning of his film career and go all the way up to the present. As many movies as I can get my hands on to watch. And so far, I'm really, really enjoying the movies. Um, and I knew that Robert Englund was talented. I just didn't know quite how talented he was because my big introduction to Robert Englund was the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And then I remembered that I had seen him, in V as Willie. And I will certainly get to V, at, when that one comes up. But we're going to start. Hey, Blissful. We're going to start with three movies from the 70s, two from 1975, one from 1974, which I just finished watching before I got on here tonight. And, you know, two of them were really, really good, and one was just for me. And I'm also going to be using the Deadites rating scale to rate these movies. Remember, this is only my opinion. You could, different people could watch these same three films and get three different, uh, you know, ratings on them. Everybody's not going to like them. Everybody may not appreciate Robert Englund's work in them. They may like the movie, not care for his work. I will say in two of these movies, he's in them very little. But the first movie I'm going to talk about, he's in quite a bit. Now, I was a little bit surprised at, I was expecting a couple of these movies to get higher ratings on IMDb. Unfortunately, they did not. One got a 6.9, one got a 6.2, and the third one got a 3. So not real high considering, a lot of people get on IMDb and review these movies. Now, I know probably if I started a little bit later, there might have been able to be more people in here. Also, not many people might not be interested in Robert Englund's filmography, especially these early films. They may say, shit, I only care about the Nightmare on Elm Street stuff or just care about the horror stuff that he did. But his body of work, which I'm discovering, is very, very good and well representative of, a great talent, in my opinion. So before we get started with these movies, I just want to let everybody know what I've got coming up for the rest of the week. And tomorrow night, of course, TJ and I will return talking about the first 7 episodes of Tales from the Crypt, the final season, season 7. Thursday, I'm planning on having another Seductive Poison: The Resurgence. I have no idea yet what I'm going to do it on. Friday, of course, will be another midday with Dane and Jay. Again, I'm not sure of the theme. I will try to come up with something beforehand. And we got a couple of watch-alongs and a movie munchies coming up this weekend. Saturday's watch-along will be John Carpenter's The Thing. And Sunday's watch-along will be The Wedding Singer, starring Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. Yes, TJ, and I won't be talking about Eating Alive tonight, uh, but I will eventually be getting to that one. Okay. The movie Munchies, you can thank Jay for the recommendation, because I said I really want to do something for The Shining, food related, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And he said, "How about here's Johnny Cakes?" So that is what I'm going to be making Sunday around 3 p.m. Eastern time, for you guys and gals that want to check in with me as I make some Johnny Cakes. Um, so let's see. We got Blissful in here. TJ's in here. Chris is in here. Hey guys. Actually, we got a total of 9 people in here right now. So we're going to go ahead and get started with these movies. The first movie I want to talk about is from 1974, Buster and Billy. Um, I had never even heard of this movie. Now, Steve downloaded it because he heard Quentin Tarantino talk about it on the podcast that he's on. I think it's that one he's on with Roger Avery, and but he hadn't watched it. But I was intrigued. I saw scenes from it that Robert Englund was in on the Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares documentary, and I was like, "This looks like a pretty interesting film." However, I didn't want to spoil it for myself, so I didn't look into a lot of the background on this movie. So, um, guys and gals, I'm probably going to be giving spoilers. So, just a little word of warning. If you haven't seen these movies, I don't want to ruin it for you. So, um, I will try to let you know when I'm going to get ready to talk about something that could be potentially a spoiler. That way, if you want to step out of the room or whatever, you can do that. That's right, Chrissy. Here's Johnny Cakes. um, so Buster and Billy stars Jan Michael Vincent as Buster. It also stars Pamela Sue Martin is in this movie. Joan Goodfellow plays Billy Joe Trueluck in this, who is um, I wouldn't say she's particularly bright, but she's a naive girl. Her parents don't really pay much attention to her. They pretty much act like that they don't know any better. This takes place in the 1940s. Um, and so Jan Michael Vincent, when the movie starts, he is a popular, well respected student at his high school. He likes, playing pool with his friends. He works on his parents' farm, helping them out with things like milking cows and stuff like that. And Robert Englund plays his friend Whitey, uh, who I feel like Robert Englund has several memorable scenes in this movie. I think he's very funny in the movie until the movie takes a dark turn. So at first, Jan Michael Vincent's not at all, Buster's not at all interested in Billy. But some of his friends take advantage of her. I wouldn't call it rape at that point, but they do take advantage of her just because she doesn't know any better. And they basically all have sex with her, except for Buster. He does not. And his girlfriend Margie, played by Pamela Sue Martin, is, I don't know. I think she's a little hoity-toity, a little bit. Her family's, a little bit more well-to-do. Billy's family is very, very poor. Not really all of them aren't real educated, but Billy does start to show some spark when Buster starts paying attention to her. He actually gets frustrated with his girlfriend because she won't go all the way with him. But the relationship between Buster and Billy grows as the movie moves along, and he falls in love with Billy. And his friends see this, the town's folks see this, and nobody likes it. It's a big scandal in their little small town. Um, but Buster and Billy don't care. They're in love, and you see their relationship grow and blossom. And one scene in particular sees a big change when he still tries to hang out with his friends, but they don't seem to want anything to do with them after he takes up with Billy. So, unfortunately, the movie does take a very, very dark turn. Hey, Kathy. Um, in that, and I'm going to give spoilers here, so give you a few seconds to get out of the room or plug your ears if you want to do that before I give this away. So, ready for the spoilers now? His friends, which I don't think, like, a couple of these guys are like really, to blame for this whole thing because um, the guys he hangs out with, I guess I should say, Whitey's really his friend. But Whitey is hanging around with the wrong kind of people. And they see Billy and they chase her in the truck and chase her through the woods and stuff like that. And you know that it's not going to end well. And she tries to fight them off, and the head guy basically hits her and knocks her down, and then essentially he rapes her. This is rape at this time. And then one of the other guys tries to rape her, and she scratches him on his face, and he just goes ape shit and just keeps punching her and punching her and punching her in her face and her head until the other guys drag him off of her. And at that point, she's dead. And I'm thinking, this guy with the big claw marks that she's made on his face, does he really think he's going to be hiding this? The fact that he's got claw marks on his face from anybody? So essentially, they beat her to death, is what they did, and raped her on top of that. And so Buster goes by Billy's house, and her parents don't know where she's at. They're like, we don't know. And he goes out in the woods, and that is where he finds Billy's body. And he cries. I mean, it's so, like, it's gut wrenching, heart wrenching, all that. And he takes her and puts her in his truck, even knowing, she's not alive anymore. And he goes to the bar where he and the other guys will play pool and drink and stuff like that. And he sees the claw marks on the one guy's face, or the scratch marks where she had, scratched him on the face. And he knows. And so he kills two of the guys, essentially. The one that beat Billy to death, he actually takes a pool or a cue ball and beats the guy in the head with it until he's dead. Robert Englund's character, Whitey, didn't really do anything to her. He was there. He didn't stop the others from doing what they did. But he didn't actually participate in the killing of of Billy or the rape of Billy. There was a scene earlier where he has sex with her. But when the really malicious part of the movie comes, he did not participate. And so they take Buster to jail. But this is like a small town jail, and I guess they just let him out, even though he's killed two people. But I don't know if they're, the movie I felt kind of left it open ended as far as is he just out on bail? Is he going to get to, stay loose, or is there going to be a trial and all of that? And is the stuff about Billy going to come out, that what they did to her and all of that? And he doesn't kill Robert Englund's character, Whitey. He just basically flips him over on the pool table and injures him, but he doesn't kill him. And also, for you ladies that like Jan Michael Vincent, you do get to see some full frontal nudity from Jan Michael Vincent. If you want to see Jan Michael Vincent in completely nude, showing everything, his penis is shown, then this is a movie to see that in, definitely. Yeah, TJ, I thought it was kind of based on true events. You say it's loosely based on true events in the screenwriter's hometown. Kathy, you say I do. You definitely do see it. I was like, I didn't know that was in there. I was like, okay. um, but that's the basic plot of the movie. Uh, TJ, you say haven't seen this, but it seems the nude scene is the most noted part of the movie, not the story. Um, now you want to know the name of that movie, Kathy? It is Buster and Billy from 1974. So I'll give you my rating now on this. Um, oops, if I can get it on the right thing, right? Even as heartbreaking as the ending was, which includes a shot of Buster going to Billy's grave, and he's dug up one woman's whole flower bed and he's brought the flowers to her grave. I mean, just what a poignant ending to a movie. There's not, too many movies that are like that. So I am going to give this one 5 deadites out of 5. I thought the story was very well written. I thought it was very well executed. And in addition to that, I thought Robert Englund was great as the character of Whitey. Like I said, during the majority of the film, Robert Englund's character is just kind of the funny guy. And I felt like he was kind of a victim of circumstance. He got mixed up with the wrong guys. And that's what happens when you get mixed up with the wrong people. Bad things happen. Um, so TJ, you say, so Dana, as far as England's part of the movie, what do you think besides it's just being his first movie? I think, again, I think Robert Englund was fantastic in it. I thought that he nailed it with the character of Whitey. I didn't see anything weak or bad about his performance. It was essentially, for this to be like a supporting actor part, he was very strong in this. Yeah, you probably would, Blissful. I almost cried. I was almost in tears. Because, like I said, I kind of tried to stay away from any potential spoilers before I watched the movie, so that I wouldn't know everything going in. And I think that's probably, for me anyway, it was the best way to watch it. Hey, Jimmy. So, what's up, Dana and chat? Popped in to say hello. Hi, Blissful and TJ. All right. So, the next one is a movie called Sunburst. And at first, or Slash Dreams is the other title of this one. And Robert Englund plays a really small part in this. Actually, this movie and the last one I'm going to talk about, he has very small roles in those. But he plays a guy, a college student or a college dropout, I guess, named Michael Sutherland. And this movie, of course, is not going to get my highest rating because it it seemed like a TV movie, but obviously it wasn't a made for TV movie because there was quite a bit of nudity in it. But Robert Englund's character of Michael had dropped out of college, and keep in mind this is the 70s. It was like 75, and he left school, left college, dropped out of college, and went into the wilderness, uh, I guess, to find himself, to live in nature and all that. That part was great, but, and his character, once he showed up, but we did not see him until over an hour into the movie. And it's not a very long movie, anyways. I think it's less than an hour and 30 minutes. And so during most of the movie, we have this guy and this girl who they also leave college. I don't think technically they're dropping out. They're just going to find Michael. And they've been friends for years, and the girl is with another guy romantically. But that guy's an asshole. And so, inevitably, she ends up breaking it off with the asshole and falling in love with her best friend. And they go out into the wilderness to look for Michael. And oddly enough, this also includes a rape scene, where Jenny, the main girl in the movie, played by Catherine Ballman, she gets raped by a couple of hoodlums, uh, because one of them actually holds a knife on the guy, while the other one rapes her. And she did seem upset, despondent, all of that stuff. However, the emotional attachment that you usually have to female characters in these types of movies when they are raped and not killed, is usually more powerful than that. I just feel like Jenny, the character of Jenny, just, I don't know, there was something wooden about her whole performance, including the stuff that happened after the rape. And so about that time, Robert Englund's character, Michael, shows up, and then he just lights up the screen. And I'm like, oh my God, why didn't they show more of him? Because To me, he was the real star of the film, and he didn't show up until the film was almost over. So you get the vicious rape, and then you get the guys just leaving, and then when Robert Englund's character, when Michael shows up, he and the guy go after the hoodlums, and they don't kill them, but they scare them off. And there's a line that Michael says, "Yeah, they're not coming back. They're not going to be back." And the last shots you see are Jenny and Robert um, heading, walking through the wilderness. You don't see Michael with them. So you really are unsure. Are they just going back to college? Are they going to leave Michael in the wilderness? Is Michael going to come back with them eventually? Or, you don't really get any kind of closure with the movie. So this movie had a lot of weak parts in it. It was my least favorite of the three that I watched. Um, like I said, didn't feel like it had any resolution. The best part of the film was the character of Michael, played by Robert Englund. He essentially had a little sparkle in a movie that would have been dead in the water without him. And that's the honest truth. I'm not lying about that. Um, just beware, if you want to watch this, you can watch it on YouTube. Just look it up under Sunburst. Um, but yeah, really don't be expecting much. In fact, you probably could just fast forward it to where Robert Englund shows up, and then, watch it from there, because he really nailed that character of Michael. A very sincere performance on Englund's part. And it almost seemed like he was in a totally different movie. The rest of the movie seemed wooden, seemed weak, seemed dead almost. Didn't have feeling. But as soon as he comes on the screen, there's all kinds of emotion and feeling and all of that going on. So, some of you may think, oops, made the comments disappear there. Some of you may think this is a little generous, but I'm going to give it 3 deadites out of 5. And again, it was my least favorite of the 3 films I watched. However, it thrilled me that I got to see Robert Englund in such a lively, emotion-filled role that he just, like I said, he nailed it. So, let's see what you guys are saying in here. Hey, Brian, thank you again for the digital rose. Jimmy, you say, man, SA scenes suck and never needed, and they serve no purpose in the movie usually. Yeah, I would definitely say, Jimmy, that Robert carried that movie. That movie, in my opinion, has absolutely nothing else going for it. In fact, those 3 deadites out of 5 are for Englund. I mean, honestly, they're for Englund. He was the saving grace of that movie. So the last one I want to talk about is a movie that I had never even heard of until I watched the Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares about Robert Englund and his life and his film career. And again, he shows up at the very end of the film, which is sad for me, even though he plays a really terrible character. And again, I'm going to give spoilers, so beware of that. I will again try to remind you before I get to those spoilers. And I'm sorry, guys and gals, I'm seeming all congested now, unfortunately. So, first of all, Robert Englund doesn't, like I said, he doesn't show up till the very end of the film uh, as a person that's trying to hold up a liquor store, essentially. But the main part, and again, this came out in 1975. It's longer than both of the other movies. It's right around the 2 hour mark with this one. Yeah, exactly, TJ. Yeah, he's referred to as the hold up man. Well, I could have skipped to Stay Hungry, but I want to see if I can cover as many of these that Robert Englund was in as I could. Um, so, Hustle is about Burt Reynolds' character, basically, who is a cop. And I think of this as maybe a little less grittier version of Dirty Harry, because Burt Reynolds' character is not nearly as hard nosed, I don't think, as Clint Eastwood in Dirty Harry. He plays Phil Gaines, Lieutenant Phil Gaines. Catherine Deneuve is also in this as his girlfriend, who is also a hooker. She plays Nicole Brighton. Ben Johnson is in this, but I didn't care much for Ben Johnson's character either. Paul Winfield. Ellen Brennan is in this, TJ. Um, and as you guys and gals know, me and TJ talked about Ellen Brennan in one of the Tales from the Crypt episodes. Eddie Albert is in this as a very unsavory lawyer. So there's a lot of Ernest Borgnine's in this. Jack Carter. I mean, just a ton of recognizable names, pretty much. So the bulk of the movie is Burt Reynolds dealing with his girlfriend, who he loves, being a hooker and doing. I guess she does phone sex, and she's a hooker as well. And so he's dealing with his job and the stress of his job, and then all of a sudden, this girl is found on the beach, Gloria. And so when Burt Reynolds meets her mother and father, played by Ben Johnson and Ellen Brennan, Ben Johnson's character is, I think his name is Marty. Is it Marty? Yeah, Marty Hollinger. And he's very angry because he basically says, "Can't you guys give me answers about my daughter's death?" And they basically start out by telling him it's a suicide, and he's like, "That's bullshit." That my daughter did, somebody killed her. So we keep going through the movie. We see little snippets of Phil interacting with Nicole, and they get into like this really big physical fight at one time, and she's gonna leave him, and he slaps her. She takes something and hits him in the head. So with the succeeding scenes, he has a big old bruise on his head. He's calling her a bitch. She's calling him names, and then they end up having sex, and everything's forgotten, it seems. And throughout the whole movie, he wants to return to Rome because he went to Rome at one time, and he wants to go with Nicole. And so what essentially ends up happening is Marty goes and confronts Eddie Albert, which we know Eddie Albert is the stimulus that, set all this stuff in motion. It was like the domino effect, and he was the first domino. Okay. Because, like I said, he's a lawyer, but he's a very unsavory lawyer. He's got his hands in a lot of dirty pots. I'll just say that. And one of those dirty pots includes him allowing adult films that Gloria, Mr. Hollinger's daughter, ended up in not long before she took a bunch of pills. And so, we got a lot of nastiness in this movie. It's very, very dark at times. And we even see a scene where Nicole is talking, to Eddie Albert. Evidently, she must be servicing him, if you know what I mean. And so, again, we see all this stuff, and what Burt Reynolds ends up essentially doing is him and his partner go to Eddie Albert's house. They find Marty sitting there. He has shot Eddie Albert. And he's just kind of sitting there. And Burt Reynolds, or Phil, ends up like wiping Marty's fingerprints off of the gun, putting a handkerchief around it, and shooting dead Eddie Albert, and making it, making this story up. And he says, Marty, we've all got to have the same story. And he tells his partner this, that you went here to confront him, and he shot you because you see Burt Reynolds shoot Marty in the shoulder too. He doesn't kill him, he just shoots him in the shoulder. He says, you have to tell them that he shot you first, and you shot him and killed him in self-defense. And that's going to be our story. So then, after all of that is resolved, he calls Nicole, and he tells her, we're gonna go to Rome now. And he tells her to meet him at the airport, and he's going to stop and get some alcohol before he meets up with her. Now, bad mistake, because he goes in, and spoiler, he goes into this place called the Wine Cellar, and you see Robert Englund, and I was like, oh, there he is. And he's getting some Olympia beer, which Steve told me they don't even make Olympia beer anymore. He said, look, he's buying Olympia beer. I said, well, actually, he's not buying it because he's going to hold up this liquor store. So he holds up the liquor store, and instead of Phil letting Robert Englund's character just get into the getaway car and take off with the money, he tries to shoot Robert Englund as he's late, trying to make his great escape. And then Phil wants to still shoot at the whole gang in their car, and Robert Englund shoots him and kills him. And then the final scene is where his partner meets up with Nicole at the airport. And when she sees his partner, she knows. And there's really no dialogue there, just her kind of crying, and they don't say a word to each other, and then they walk out of the airport terminal. Jimmy, you say you like Burt Reynolds. Dang, chat lag. Yeah, unfortunately, that happens with StreamYard. Chris, you say, yeah, a little lag. Yeah, I apologize for that, guys and gals. I wish that something could be done about that. So my rating for this one is a good solid 4. for the movie itself and for Robert Englund's very short performance. But even though he was a bad guy, it was still very effective, even for the short time he was on screen. So it gets a 4 not only for his performance, but also for the movie itself. I would recommend the movie. The only one I wouldn't just jump and recommend to you would be Sunburst. But I'm not saying don't go watch it. I guess it would be worth one watch at least. But I know this wasn't very long, but if I have anybody on here with me for some of the others, which are going to be taking place on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, then I may stay on here a little bit longer. Like I stayed on quite a bit longer with the second Stephen's Kingdom because I had Jay and I had Uncle Bill on there. Yeah, I wish there was something that we could do, though, Jimmy. You like the Deadite scale, Chris? I'm glad. I'm glad that y'all enjoy that. One thing Uncle Bill asked me last night, because we were rating the actual Stephen King adaptations, he said, "Do you have halves on here?" I was like, "No, I just got the whole numbers." I said that Uncle Bill could give it halves if he wanted, or anybody can give halves in there. They could say 3.5 or 4.5 or whatever. But I could probably stay on here a few more minutes, like to 8:45, just to make it at least a 45-minute thing. But I hope that you guys and gals have enjoyed this first edition of Everybody Wants England. And I just, for you guys and gals that are in here, and I guess people that watch it on the replay will find this out too. I'll tell you what I am going to be covering next Tuesday. If I can get this down to the right grouping of movies here. Okay. There we go. I about got it. All right. So next time I will be covering Stay Hungry from 1976, St. Ives, also 1976, and Eaten Alive, also from 1976. So it's going to be 3 different movies from 1976. Uh-oh. What's what you say? I've been listening. My kitchen was attacking me again. Kathy says she's dreaming of Jan Michael Vincent. Yeah, I think you would enjoy the movie, Kathy. Just keep in mind that it's a little dark. Now you can rent it on YouTube and Amazon Prime for about $3 or $4 if you wanted to do that. And the quality was, uh, the quality of like well, Buster and Billy, I actually watched Steve's download, which I think that was a high definition copy because it looked really good. And but Hustle, I actually rented and watched it, and it must have been an HD version too because it looked good for a movie from that time period. So I'm glad that you guys always enjoy the live streams, and yeah, I second what Jimmy says. Will kick your kitchen's butt. So, guys and gals, I guess that's all from me tonight. I want to thank you guys and gals all for joining me um, as I navigated through the first 3 Robert Englund films in his filmography. TJ, you say Englund is Hood #1 in St. Ives, better than Hood 23. That's right, DJ. So I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night. And I will see you guys and gals next time. Y'all have a great night and a wonderful Wednesday.